My name is Michael Gartrell. I am the Regional Community Sales Manager for KeyBank. That's a fancy way of me saying I get to help folks in community spaces, right? Kind of what we all, are here to help out with. We're all here to do. Just got a fancy little title in there. That's all it is. Been with KeyBank for, it'll be 12 years in January. It's gone by really quickly. So learned a lot over that time, and always happy to share what I've learned with our clients, both internally and externally. So
Awesome. Well, great. Yeah, the first question I have, Michael, is, we work with a lot of people who have some distrust with financial institutions in general. So from your perspective, how do you build that trust with the individuals and communities who might have had negative experiences or just don't trust financial institutions in general?
yeah, it's a great question. One of the things that KeyBank does is what we have called listening sessions. So basically, you heard the old saying, like, we listen and we don't judge, right? It's a similar situation where we'll gather with our community organizations, so nonprofit organizations, community partners, church leaders in the area, and we'll have key bank representatives. I've been there a number of times. We have folks fly out from our headquarters in Cleveland to come to these events, and they basically just let us know how we can be better partners in the community. And I think listening and not responding back, that was probably the hardest thing for me. I'm like, people will say, "Oh, you guys should be doing this." I'm like, "Well, we're doing that. We got to tell more people about it." But not being able to say that in that setting, just all right, just listen, take a little notes, and then let that be that. That goes a long way towards building that trust in the community, because people feel like I'm not just being defensive, or Key's not just being defensive about the work that we're doing in these community spaces, which is a lot. Um, they feel like they can actually talk to someone and their voice is being heard, their opinions being valued.
Great. And yeah, what are some of the ways that KeyBank, reaches out to those underbanked or underserved communities?
Yeah. So another really great question. My role itself was created a couple of years ago, and it was designed to really attack that need specifically. The community sales manager role was designed to really be like a cornerstone of Key's community efforts from the community banking strategy standpoint. Where the idea is, what can we do to meet clients where they are and provide those personalized financial services, not just the, hey, here's a checking account, have a nice day, but really, what can we do to understand what the needs of the community are, right? We're deeply embedded in our communities. We do a lot of volunteering, a lot of partnerships with community organizations. Well, we attend a lot of local events. We'll put on a lot of local events. Again, with the idea being, what can we do to further ingrain ourselves in the communities that we serve? So it's a really, really, really big piece of that. Um, and financial wellness. I can't stress that enough. I know it's a buzzword, but one of the biggest mistakes I've seen with younger bankers or people newer to that role is they lead with product. Like, hey, I got this checking account,
Mm.
or I got this CD, or I got this credit card, and you're basically throwing some at the wall and saying, like, I hope something sticks, right? Um, our approach has got to be different, and it is different at Key. It's, what can we do to really understand your needs? And that starts with financial education, financial wellness, sitting down with our clients, really asking them, a series of questions, understand their unique situation, and kind of mirroring the solutions that we've got to better support them. So I know it's kind of lengthy, but yeah, that's that's
No,
how
that's
we're.
great. And yeah, so what sort of financial wellness or financial education has KeyBank done throughout the community?
Yeah, so we've got a a program called Money Me and Key, and what it is, it's our financial wellness suite, and they've got it broken down into three different menus, for lack of a better term. There's a personal finance one where it's pretty all encompassing, right? It talks everything from the basics of banking, understanding a budget and the types of budgets that are out there that could make sense for someone, understanding credit and credit reporting and how to build up your credit and all the good stuff, even down to some of the more how do I protect myself from identity theft and fraud, on all the way up to like, all right, I've kind of at the end of my working road here. I want to retire one day. How do I get there? And then we've also got a small business menu where, like, hey, I want to start a business one day. How do I get there? Or hey, I've got a business. How do I get funding for it? And we got workshops geared towards that. And then the last menu is around home lending, home ownership. I want to buy a house one day, and that is not easy, especially in this economy and in this market. Help. We've got workshops that really breaks down those barriers, demystifies the whole home ownership journey, and kind of walk you through step by step. Hey, here's what the pre-approval process looks like. Here's why it's important you to work with the loan officer first, so you can have an idea of what you can do to go shopping with, right? Okay, cool. We've got that pre-approval letter. Now we can go, turn on HGTV and Property Brothers. No, I'm kidding. Pull up the Redfin or talk to a realtor and go shopping and see if you can marry what your budget is versus what you want, what your dream home is or your starter home is, whatever the case may be. But yeah, we do a lot of those programs and they're free. Those workshops are free of charge.
Oh, great.
We don't charge the community. We don't charge any partner organizations that we might work with on those events. It's just something that we just offer. And another program that we have is called Key at Work. That one is geared more towards employers and their as an additional benefit for their employees. And it's much more of a digital experience where we've got a lot of the same types of modules, I'll say, from like home ownership, small business, and personal finance. But it's much more of a individual pace. So a lot of employees, people, period, have anxiety around their personal finances, right? But not a lot of people are willing to raise their hand in a public forum and say, hey, I need help repairing my credit, or hey, I need help with the budget. So this way gives people an opportunity to kind of go at their own pace and learn on their own. And if they have additional questions or additional needs, there's opportunities to schedule a one-on-one appointment with a banker or a branch manager at a time that's convenient for them, and they get that personal guidance that they need, and whether it leads to opening up an account or building a plan to help them get to where they want to go on their financial journey. Whatever it winds up being, they've got that at their fingertips. And that's another thing that we offer to employers as an additional benefit, at no cost. So another way that we're helping the small business community, trying to retain some talent, without having to fork over a bunch of money for it. No cost for that. So something that we offer to all of our business clients and prospects. So if you don't bank with us yet, we can still offer it to you. Just come talk to us.
Yeah. Awesome. And yeah, I wanted to ask a little bit more about, some of KeyBank's products. The catch-22 that I hear from a lot of people is it's hard to get credit without first having credit history. So do you have any programs or products that can help people start to build credit or rebuild their credit?
Yeah, yeah. So the big one there is going to be our secured credit cards. So we've got a secured credit card product. So the way it works is, people would open up a check or savings account, excuse me, and the put anywhere between $300 and I believe 5,000 is the maximum you put in there, and the dollar amount that they put in there is going to serve as their credit limit for this credit card. So that's an important distinction to have with folks when considering this product, is that hey, what you put in up front is going to be your credit limit for the credit card. Also, we're going to put a hold on that deposit for the length of your secured credit card process, right? So there's two kind of look-in points to see when you can graduate from the secured credit card product. So could be a 6 month journey, could be a 12-month journey, could be longer depending on the client. Each one's specific to that one, right? And once they graduate the process, so they built up a history of making payments on time and in full, and the bank's like, okay, cool, I see things are trending in the right direction here. Congrats, you graduated. We can remove the hold off of that deposit. So now you've got access to that money you've been saving in there this whole time, and you built your credit up. So
Great. And going back to the home ownership you were talking about, those classes, do you have any first time home buyer grants or any programs like that at KeyBank?
yeah, so we've got a number of community banking, community lending, I should say, products to really help people get into homes. The most common one we have is what we call our home buyer credit, and it's based off of the location of the property. So if it's located in a certain census tract, it could qualify for $5,000 to go towards either closing costs or buying down the rate, or whatever you want to do with that extra $5,000. And when I bought my house, I would love an extra 5 grand to help go towards everything, right? So that's the idea behind it. We've got the $5 credit, and the credit is designed to be in locations where it's low to moderate income, and or majority minority census tracts. So it's really geared towards helping the people that really need it the most. So we're seeing a lot of those credits being eligible all throughout those LMI communities, some throughout the Snohomish area, a lot in the Pierce County area, a lot over in Eastern Washington as well. But that's the idea behind that one, is like, what can we do to really help people get into homes? There's also some for existing homeowners that want to pull equity out of their home. We recognize that right now a lot of people are putting things on credit cards, and we've got a lot of folks that, because times are hard, right? Things are getting more expensive for everybody, and so as much as we'd love to say, oh yeah, pay it off on time and in full, and collect the points and cash back, and the bank's paying you, that's just not a reality for a lot of people. So a lot of folks have racked up credit card debt, and credit card debt is in the teens, 20s, maybe 30% interest rate. We've got a home equity loan product that will give you a 3% rate discount for home equity loans between $25,000 and $100,000. For same deal as the home buyer credit, as long as the home is located in that specific census tract, so it's either LMI or majority minority. So big rate discount on a home equity loan to do help with some of that debt consolidation, or even help with some of home improvement projects. Spring's going to be right on the corner. A lot of folks are looking to maybe do some bathroom remodels, or kitchen, or update the man cave, or whatever the case may be. It's a great opportunity to pull some equity out of your home at a lower interest rate to help go towards that. And then there's also a number of community-based mortgages as well. We've got one that offers 100% financing. It's called our Key Community Mortgage. They've got some income guidelines on there, as well as census tract guidelines on there as well. But you can get up to 100% financing on that bad boy. We've got some for doctors and dentists where it'll be up to 90% financing with no private mortgage insurance. So there's a lot of them out there, in addition to like the traditional FHA, VA, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And it looks like we had a question at the chat. So can that credit you were talking about be stacked or layered with any other down payment assistance programs?
Um, I don't know that if there's anything that explicitly prohibits any other programs. I guess will kind of depend on what that program is, and if it's like another lender doing something or a community organization doing something. From our standpoint, the credit's just based off of where the house is located at. So if the house is located in a qualifying census tract, we're good to go from a KeyBank standpoint. But in terms of other organizations or lenders credits,
Like,
possibly.
like if they were involved in like some other down payment assistance program with a CDFI, with the community development financial institution, or some other organization, yeah, could you? There wouldn't doesn't sound like there'd be a reason why they couldn't, if they're part customer of yours, they're in the proper census tract, they can leverage other resources and use all of it together to. I think, is that what you're getting at, Daniel? That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so like sorry, I was gonna yeah, so just to clarify, so yeah, exactly. So like let's say with that kind of first time home buyers program that you mentioned with the credit of 5K and stuff. Let's say somebody is looking in Pierce County, and so City of Tacoma I know has like down payment assistance that goes up to 60K if it's anywhere within the city limits. So is like if somebody applies for that and gets approved for that, can that be layered on with your guys's home buying programs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak too much for that program specifically, because I don't know all the ins and outs of like what City of Tacoma stipulations are, and how nice he could play with with KeyBank. But from our standpoint, the credit's just based off where the house is located at. I don't see any reason why we couldn't. But again, I don't want to underwrite something.
Yeah.
I'll just
Sorry, yeah, it's
I'll,
because I kind of do the same thing that you do, but my background is a lot in home loans. So That's kind of where like I love just kind of learning about it and seeing who I can send over, what programs can be stacked and layered against someone,
Sure.
what other programs and which ones can't. Just because I've seen things where, especially with the Washington State Finance Housing Commission and the city of Tacoma, I've seen things where it's been up to like 300K and down payment assistance. So really helping folks out and really get that affordable in that housing that we really want.
Yeah. I think, and you got with the Housing Finance Commission, I think you might be leaning towards the Covenant loan or the Covenant
Yeah,
program.
there's that program, and then there's a bunch of other ones. But yeah, that's the main one that's really been taken off for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, Michael, when I first met you, we met at the Bank On Forum, and we did a great workshop about supporting justice impacted communities. And I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about that and some of the work that KeyBank has done to support justice impacted people specifically.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm most proud of in terms of our work in that space is a partnership we've got with an organization called Fresh Start. We've got, KeyBank employees that are kind of on the board over there as well, but Fresh Start's an organization designed to help people that are, reintegrating back into society. And they've got a program. They're located in Seattle in the Central District, and it's like a 3 month program where people are going through there, learning the different soft skills to get job training and things like that. And part of that is KeyBank employees actually go out to this. So it's a weekly program we go through, and we'll talk to them about financial education. So they've got that in addition to, all the other soft skills that they can help, put on their resume and get hired. It's, hey, also, here's how we can get you set up with the right budgets, get your credit right, all that good stuff, so that by the time 3 months is up, they're ready to come sit down with the banker. They are in front of someone that they trust. They know because we're there, we're showing up, and it's also helping people reintegrate back into society. So that's one of the biggest ones I'm most proud of as I work in that space with Fresh Start. But we can also do things like uh, we get a lot of folks that are fresh out and they've got only their Department of Corrections ID on them when they need to cash a check. That's another thing that KeyBank in the state of Washington's been able to help out with as well, to be able to cash those checks at our branches. So yeah, we're really involved, and it's something that our teams are really passionate about. Everything from a financial education standpoint to ease of life standpoint.
Great. Awesome. And yeah, I kind of wanted to shift the focus a little more towards small businesses, which I know is huge for financial institutions right now. So what would you say are kind of the most common challenges you see some of these small business owners facing? And what is KeyBank doing to try and support those people?
Yeah. So one of my favorite questions I ask entrepreneurs whenever I'm out and about, whether it's at like a networking mixer or just going door to door meeting small business owners, is what do you need? And the biggest response I get is capital. Access to capital is the far and away. Yep, I just need to get an extra 20 grand for this marketing thing, or if I can get 50K, I can buy some more inventory. Like it's inevitably it's always comes around access to capital. So that's by far the biggest thing that I hear small business owners need. Aside from that, one of the things that really stood out to me is that a lot of entrepreneurs are experts in their craft, but they're not necessarily experts in how to run their business, the administrative piece, right? The payroll piece, the how can I speed up my accounts receivables, maybe slow down my accounts payables, how can I, get some additional credit that I need so I can have the capital to enjoy the benefits of scale, right? And we've started addressing that through what we call key conversations. Excuse me. It's a similar to what we do on the personal finance side, where we really take a deep dive with our business owners and really understand the ins and outs of their business. Everything down to tell me about your team. How many employees do you have? Are you growing? Are you shrinking? To tell me about your location. Do you own the place? Do you lease it? Do you want to own a place? To, all right, well, how do you pay for stuff? How do people pay you? And it's like a really, holistic approach to really understanding someone's business. and then we can provide the solutions based off of that, and it's going to be unique to them. We're really big with the SBA. We're actually a preferred SBA lender. We've got an entire team dedicated to just that. We actually just did a workshop a couple of weeks ago out of our Burien branch, where we had one of our SBA reps come out and talk about all the ways that we can leverage SBA and get creative to help fund entrepreneurs in their businesses. We've also got dedicated programs specifically for entrepreneurs. One of them being called Key for Women, and it was designed to be for women entrepreneurs or women in business, and then helping address all the needs that they might have that are unique to them. I talk about the access to capital thing. If you think about it from a woman-owned business standpoint, you know, it's almost worse there, right? In terms of you don't know what you don't know, and you might get overlooked or passed over. We saw it big time in COVID, where a lot of minority-owned businesses, a lot of women-owned businesses kind of got glossed over when it was time to get the PPP loans. So we've developed that Key Film program really designed to help build community in the women entrepreneur space, and really help build that network for people to come together and help their businesses thrive.
Well, great. I mean, my next question was going to be, what advice would you give entrepreneurs who are trying to build a relationship with the bank? But it sounds like KeyBank has many options and many programs they can get connected to build that relationship.
Yeah, and kind of on that, I would say interview your business banker. That'd be my biggest piece of advice. Make sure that you communicate what you're looking for in a banking relationship. But also ask questions about, products, programs, and services that are available to help entrepreneurs. Don't be afraid to say, hey, what else? What else is out there? What else should I know? That's another question that I love asking, and I love getting what else should I know? Also, be open to receive advice from your branch manager or from your business banker. That's another thing. You don't want to come into the conversation with your cup full. We want to remove ego from the conversation when we're talking to folks. Be open to learning more and hearing different ideas and insights about how the bank can help you, because we want to help.
Great. And then I think some of us have at least heard of the SBA in some way, shape, or form, but on a super high level, this is a question in the chat here. What does the SBA do?
Yeah, so the short answer to it is it's an organization, a government organization that's designed to kind of mitigate the risk for banks. So a lot of times, if there's a riskier deal out there, or there'd be like a newer business, or there's not like a bunch of history of, oh, they've got an amazing revenue, and, I know their product works. Where banks like, yeah, I want to make sure if I give you this money, I'm gonna be able to get it back, right? Plus the interest. And that could be, a big risk with a lot of newer businesses, or even some established businesses, but, maybe haven't been as, booming as they would like, I'll say. So the SBA is there to really help offset some of that risk. So the government will guarantee the risk on some of that type of stuff. So the bank's like, oh, okay, cool. So if the government's going to back, like, I think it's like 70 or 80% of the deal, then we'll come in and we're much more comfortable with it. So that's the idea behind it, is the SBA, taking on some of that risk for the banks, so that the banks are much more comfortable to lend to some of the riskier deals.
Great. And then, yeah, kind of the last section of questions I had here is talking about kind of funding and partnership opportunities. So I know that KeyBank has impact grants and things like that, but what are some of the main areas of focus for community giving? Is it financial education, workforce development? What are some of the key areas they focus on?
Yeah, so we've actually got a whole foundation dedicated to it, the KeyBank Foundation, and it's a charitable organization that's got three main funding priorities: neighbors, education, and workforce. So kind of unpacking that a little bit, the neighbors piece is, grants for programs that help folks stay in their homes, start businesses, really what can we do to build safe and healthy and stable communities, right? The education piece, it's grants for some of those programs that are designed to help prepare students for higher education. So that'd be SAT prep, ACT prep, things like that. College readiness, whatever it is, we want to be able to help organizations that are helping people do that. And then the workforce piece, grants for programs that are designed to help people that want to develop those skills necessary for their current and future employment opportunities. So
Great. You answered most of my questions. The one big question that I know a lot of people are talking about right now is kind of looking ahead. AI, how do you see AI kind of influencing financial institutions moving forward?
yeah, the big robotic boogeyman. Yeah. Our honestly, it's our teammates are already using AI to, help serve our clients, and help us be more efficient our day to day. I've been to a number of like AI related workshops, and there was a lot of concerns about like, is it going to replace the workforce? Who's all going to lose their jobs? Like, what industries are going to be, irrelevant because we've got AI to do the job for them. And one of my biggest takeaways was that, AI may not take our jobs, but someone using AI will. So it's super important that, we start getting familiar with the technology, and think about ways that we can use it for the betterment. It's got the potential to, make things that we consider modern today look, antiquated, right? So it's going to be super important that banks in particular invest heavily in this space so that we can remain competitive. AI also does a really good job of, blurring the lines between, what's real and what's not. And, that's going to add a completely new dimension to things like fraud, right? So we've got to be even better at protecting our clients. As it is right now, there's people that believe that Tyler Perry emailed them and he needs him to send them $5,000 so he can finish his next movie. And then he can't FaceTime me because his camera is hacked on his. There's people that believe that type of stuff right now, right? So we've got to be even better when AI becomes more and more prevalent in our society, and because it's not just going to be used for good, right? It's not just going to be the white hats. There's going to be the folks out there that's thinking, what can I do to leverage Chat GPT to get over on somebody else, right? So it's something that the bank, I know for a fact, is taking seriously and looking at ways to better protect our clients, protect ourselves, but also better serve our clients. So
Great. And the new generation of people with bank accounts, younger generations, they're very digital first. Usually only the mobile apps or sometimes their online banking. So how is KeyBank kind of preparing for that transition?
yeah, so we continue to make enhancements to our mobile app and our online banking experiences. I can easily see that being one space where AI gets, the most attention first is, maybe like a chat client for your online banking, right? I'm not saying I know that's on the roadmap. I don't want to speak, for my tech department what they might be working on, but just thinking out loud, that's something I could easily see, being implemented across the board in our industry is like a chat GPT type client where you log into your online banking. It's like, hey, what do you want to do next? And it's like, oh, tell me about what this charge was, or hey, I'm thinking about applying for this. What do I need to do? What documents should I bring? That type of thing. I can easily see that being something where banks start implementing that type of technology into their products going forward.
Great. And I think the last question I have that I think I skipped would be, what does KeyBank do to support clients that are facing like a financial crisis, like a job loss, housing instability? Is there any sort of programs or support the KeyBank provides in those hardship situations?
Yeah, so there are a number of relief options that are available for folks that have. I'll use a mortgage for example. There's like at least like loss mitigation program we can go through where if you're having a hardship, like maybe you might have, lost a job or you might have had something happen, like, hey, maybe I got COVID and I couldn't work for, a week and a half or 2 weeks. So that really messed up my paycheck. So now I'm behind on the mortgage. The bank wants to work with you to help you get back on track. So, they'll have you fill out the application and go through the whole process of, hey, here's what's out here for us to help you. Has your, crisis been avoided yet? Is everything back to normal? Are you in a position where you can start paying back? Things like that. And then if so, okay, great. We'll have you go through a trial program where you can make a number of payments on time and in full. Okay, cool. Now we can look at maybe doing a modification. for the loan and helping you get back on track so that you're not just like, all right, well, sucks for you. We're gonna go to foreclosure. I could tell you for KeyBank, we don't want to take your house away. We don't want to be in that space. We would much rather you pay us back over the course of 15, 30 years, whatever it may be, and have it be paid as agreed. So we don't have to take everything back and worry about getting it back on the market and who's going to buy this loan or whatever. We want you to have this thing work with us. So that's where we're at with that.
Great. Awesome. Well, yeah, that is all the questions that I had. Thank you so much, Michael. That's super helpful for me, and I know everyone here. Yeah, I wanted to open it up and see if anyone else has any other questions. I think we were monitoring the chat pretty good. I don't think we missed anything. But yeah, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to come off mute.
I have a couple questions that people and and anyone else can jump in whenever. I'll just give one for now. Why why do you think, and maybe your personal or KeyBank's perspective on why do you guys think it's important for financial institutions to expand access to low and moderate income communities and those who have been historically marginalized? Why is that so important?
Yeah, so a couple of ways I look at it from the bank's perspective. CRA is a big piece, so we want to make sure that we're not getting in trouble from that standpoint. But also fair lending. Banks have an ugly history of redlining and other practices like that, where we've been real discriminatory to people from different racial backgrounds. So we've got a lot of restoring that as well. There's people that still have those same memories of these old real estate covenants that said, hey, banks can't lend in these spaces, right? For me personally, a big piece of it is my heart, right? Like I want to help people. That's why I started becoming a banker, so that I can genuinely help people, make an impact on people's lives. I've been in branches where the clientele is super affluent, and I've been in branches where it's definitely in that low to moderate income space. And there is a difference in terms of the impact that you feel like you're making when you're working with some of those folks in those underserved and unserved markets. You feel like you're genuinely making a difference, and it's not just like, all right, well, here's credit card number 2 from this other client. Again, not that I want to say anything negative about folks that are affluent, anything like that. It's just you feel like you're helping folks that genuinely need it, as opposed to, all right, I don't want to say you're pushing product on someone, but that's a feeling that can be out there for some bankers.
Yeah, thank you.
I had a quick question. It was in regards to the classes that you guys offer on pretty much everything, which is awesome. I kind of wanted to know two main things. What's the frequency, I guess you can say, of the classes? Like, how often do you guys have them? And I know it's in various locations and things like that, but just kind of wanted to know, like, is it per region, per branch, things like that? But then also, like, average participation. Like, is there an average participation that you guys normally get? Just yeah, just things like that.
Yeah, great question. It is all across the board. There's not a set schedule like, hey, on Tuesdays we're going to be doing this, and on Wednesdays, no, it's really kind of what the needs are, and it's specific to each branch or each part of town. I've got some parts of the state where they've got a partnership with the library, so like they've got like a weekly, like I think it's like a 12 week course type situation where they have like each week there's a different one. I think it's at the Tacoma Library where they're doing that at. I know we've had talks about doing something similar in the Seattle Public Library system. I've had some community organizations that we work with. It's like, hey, we want to be able to offer this as a one-off, see how it goes. Or, hey, we'd like that a lot. Let's maybe do it quarterly. So that's my long-winded way of saying, yes, we do them. And it's really kind of organic in terms of, the frequency of which they come about, and it's dependent upon who, what, when, and where. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, I didn't know if they were like all at the branches, or if it was kind of like, no, it's in partnerships with, like you were saying, library and organizations. So that's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, we've done both. I've one of the more memorable ones I've done one with Big Brothers Big Sisters, where we went to their headquarters out in Factoria and did some for some of their bigs and littles they had over there. I did one with King County where it felt like we were in an abandoned building, but it's like an old warehouse that's about to be renovated in the Whiteton area. We did some for the community over there. We've done some at our branches where we've hosted the community come to our locations, and we'll provide refreshments and all that good stuff, and say, hey, come learn about how to buy a house, or whatever. I've done them at churches. Like there's not really anything that's going to be limiting us to where we can do one at, and we're really creative about who we can serve and where we're going to do it at.
Hey, this is Krista. Have you ever done financial education at HUD housing themselves, like those locations themselves?
I personally haven't, but that's
Or
not to say
yeah,
that Key couldn't, there's not to say that we couldn't go out and do something there. My thing's always been like, hey, if you got a venue and you got an audience, I will show up and I will bring my team and we will do the thing. So yeah, it's something that I'm not opposed to doing at all. But
we haven't been there yet either. And I'm asking around because we feel like that would be a great space to get to potential clients to get into, like they're not coming to the library. They might not be coming to the bank. So how can we get into those communities? That's why I asked.
oh, gotcha. Yeah, I think a lot of it is, building partnerships. I'll speak a little candidly here. One that I'm currently working on is with, Seattle Housing Authority, and, what can we do to impact some of the folks that are going through their program, both from the job link side of the house, but also like, hey, if maybe you want more permanent housing on your own. And, some of the things I learned from that is, some people are like, yeah, I'm all about it. And some people are like, maybe the end goal isn't to own. Maybe it's to, hey, I got housed, so I'm happy here, and let me just continue to stay here. But I'll hear about some of the other stuff. Maybe it's about the small business side or personal finance. So it kind of varies.
Awesome.
I had I had another question with regard to the secured credit card.
Hmm.
So could you unpack a little bit, like a little more detail about how that works? So do folks sign kind of an agreement for a length of time? Like what would happen if they wanted to start with a $500 secured credit card and they deposit that money as their collateral, and then something came up and they needed the money right away? Would you just, if they had a balance on their credit card, would you just subtract it from their total and then let them withdraw? Basically, are they kind of locked in for a period of time? So, like, what is the risk for them having the money parked there? Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Sure, sure. Great question. So, in the event that's like, hey, I need this money right now, um, it basically would be terminating the agreement for the secured card. So it's okay, cool. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. We can cancel this thing, and we'll now there is understanding that this can impact your credit because it went from being a brand new trade line you just had to a trade line you don't have anymore. So there will be some negative consequences from that regard.
Mm.
Also, a credit limit you just had, a credit limit you don't have anymore. So again, there will be those consequences that you want to make sure you're educating people about before they make that decision, to both apply for and close out that secured card. But yeah, so I guess to kind of answer their part of that question, that money is indeed locked up until they graduate, if they're going to continue on with the program. So it could be, again, there's two periods to check into, one in like June and one in like December, I want to say. So depending on what time of year they apply for and get approved for the secured card, could be a 6 month thing, could be a 12-month thing, could be shorter, could be longer. Just kind of depends on how they are and how much help they needed to get it repaired. And so again, just kind of going back to setting the proper expectations. As long as people know ahead of time, they can make an informed decision and kind of go from there.
Nice. Yeah, really good point. Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Does anyone else have anything? All right.
So
Awesome. Oh, go ahead, Jared.
I was going to say, as we close out the recording here, just curious if you want to close out the recording, Ethan, and then I just wanted to
Yeah.
have a couple questions with the group.